This is the Barbados Today afternoon news for Tuesday, December 5th. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary Claire Williams. Heated debate in the House of Assembly this morning on the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment Bill of 2017. Leading off debate on the measure, Attorney General and Minister of Home Affairs Adriel Brathwaite announced plans by government to appoint 3 additional judges with a view to addressing the current backlog of cases in the criminal court.
Instructions were given to have placed in the estimates the provisions for the 3 additional judges. We reckon that we're going to need an additional master. Again, the relevant instructions will be given, and we have to see how we can reallocate some of our resources. And finally, based on our discussions, we really have to re-engineer completely the court system. We have been speaking for the last couple of months, if not the last 2 years or so, about how do we separate out, in particular, the family division, which accounts for a significant part of our civil matters. We have identified the resources that are required. We've identified the training that will be required. And I believe that I can say to this honourable chamber that it is our intention to establish a separate family division. That is that we will have a magistrate and 2 judges in the High Court who will address the family law-related matters.
But this immediately drew a response from former Attorney General Dale Marshall. He pointed out that an amendment would have to be made to the country's laws to facilitate such appointments, given that there are currently no provisions in the estimate for the extrajudicial officers. During his contribution, Marshall also warned that the amendments being proposed to the country's Bail Act would throw the entire criminal justice system into disarray.
You can only put an amount in the estimates if you have lawful authority to do so. You can only put an amount of statutory emoluments in the estimates if you have lawful authority to do so. I mean, that's not true. Mr. Speaker, the foolishness in this chamber is this, that the Attorney General wants us to believe that his ministry, because he said his ministry is prepared, the Attorney General wants us to believe that his ministry put in the provision, in the estimates, provision for 3 additional judges, when he well knows, Mr. Speaker, that sections 4 and 5 of the Supreme Court of Judicature Act limits the number of Court of Appeal judges to 5 and the number of High Court judges to 8. We now have a full complement of High Court judges. There is a single Court of Appeal judge to be appointed. So pray tell me how the Attorney General's ministry is going to prepare estimates and now include a total of 16 judges when the statute which allows for the appointment of judges, Mr. Speaker, limits you to 5 Court of Appeal and 8 High Court.
In other news this afternoon, local and regional farmers are being encouraged to use technology to develop the sector. The advice came this morning from representative of the Caribbean Agriculture Research Institute, CARDI, during an open day to mark the organization's 43rd anniversary. Representative Ansari Hussain announced that CARDI has developed a new app to assist farmers. He also announced that the organization has been assisting Barbuda and Dominica in reviving their agriculture sectors following the devastation caused by Hurricanes Irma and Maria in September.
While the people in these islands are traumatized, CARDI can start to mobilize planting material into the country to begin the process of agricultural revival. For example, in the aftermath of the 2004 earthquake in Haiti, CARDI Belize sent considerable amounts of beans, peas and corn to help farmers in distress, and also it happened after the Hurricane Ivan in Grenada, where we involved in generating planting material to help revitalize that agricultural industry there. Similar relief is being dispatched for Barbuda and Dominica in the aftermath of the recent hurricanes.
The owner of the controversial dump at Lower Estate St. George, Anderson Cherry, has apologized to residents of the area. The Ministry of Health last week issued an abatement notice ordering the closure of the landfill after several complaints from the residents.
First, I want to apologize to all the residents in the area, and I want to say that we will be looking into the matter. It's unfortunate what happened, and we will be meeting with the ministry in the coming week to see how we can start executing their request.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back with news from the region. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Alan Chasney is seeking to assure the country that his administration will find a solution to rising crime. Chasney was speaking with reporters at the weekly pre-cabinet press briefing. We get more in this report from HDS News Force.
Prime Minister Alan Chasney does not believe that crime is up overall in St. Lucia, while acknowledging that the homicide rate is very disturbing to authorities. In November, the police force reported increases across most major crime categories. That disclosure was made during a national crime symposium convened by the National Security Minister, with participation from a wide cross-section of religious, political, public and private sector organizations. During the weekly pre-cabinet press briefing on December 4th, Prime Minister Chasney acknowledged the historical homicide count. However, like the Minister for Equity, Leonard Montoute, does not see a marked increase in the total crime rate.
I want to respond to that because I know that the number of homicides are up, and it's a record number, and it's very, very disturbing. But I don't know where this report came for that crime was up. You know, the reports that I've seen certainly have indicated that all of the levels of crime are down. But that's not to satisfy us. And certainly I'm not banking on that to justify the level of homicide rates. But I continue to say, and my administration continues to say, that we do have a solution for the homicide problems. We came into government promising that we have a solution. But unfortunately, that solution is not something that's going to happen overnight.
Police data confirms sharp increases in crime for the months January to September 2017. The Royal St. Lucia Police Force reported a 10% increase in reported crimes compared to the same period in 2016.
On the international scene, a public health scandal in the Philippines has resulted in Manila halting the sale of dengue vaccine that officials warn may not be safe. We get the details in this Reuters report.
Outrage and fear in the Philippines. Crowds gathered in front of the Department of Health on Tuesday, protesting a vaccine they say put their children at serious risk. The government is stopping sales of Dengvaxia, a vaccine for dengue, after warnings that the drug could actually make the disease worse. It's been used on over 700,000 children. Reuters' Karen Lima says the scandal has put French drug maker Sanofi and some officials in the spotlight.
What we know is that the previous government spent around $70 million to procure the vaccine for its dengue immunization program. Some legislators, however, are calling for an investigation, and they believe that DOH or Department of Health officials, as well as Sanofi, must be held liable for this.
The World Health Organization first flagged problems with the vaccine back in July of 2016, warning that it might not work. And worse, could put some even more at risk of a severe infection. Sanofi only made its concerns about the vaccine public last week, calling them, quote, new findings. President Rodrigo Duterte is now vowing to get to the bottom of what he calls a public health scam.
And finally, Spain is reporting its largest cocaine bust in nearly 2 decades. The Interior Ministry said earlier today that more than 5,800 kilograms of the drug were discovered in a container ship traveling from Medellin in Colombia. The drugs have a street value of 210 million euros. The ship was carrying bananas from Colombia to El Prat de Llobregat, where the international airport in Catalonia is located. 3 people were arrested in relation to the haul, including the Spanish head of the import company using the container. And that's news this afternoon. Remember, there's more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Mary Claire Williams. Good afternoon.